FSU just landed another massive commitment for this 2024 recruiting class, and their DB room gets even more stacked. We've talked about them having the best secondary class in the country. That just got better today. And I don't care. I've not really heard any arguments against that just because I don't know how you would argue it. We'll talk about the entire DB room in just a minute, but let's talk about it. Kai Bates just committed to the Seminoles. We talked about him in our very last recruiting video. He is another blue chip athlete. The On3 industry rankings have him listed as the 99th overall player, a top 100 type kid, and the 2-4 composite has him at number 94 overall. One of my favorite things about his ratings is that he is incredibly consistent. He is a top 150 player across all 4 recruiting services, On3, 247, Rivals, and ESPN. I think that's really important because scouts are in agreement. This kid is elite. Some right around that top 100, some in the 120s, some closer to the 150 range. But everyone agrees this kid is really, really good. A lot of times in recruiting rankings, we'll have a massive outlier. He'll be top 10 on one site and he'll be in the 300s on another. Not here. Everyone's in agreement. He is an elite prospect out of Edgewater High School there in Orlando, Florida. You got to keep elite kids home. And we'll talk about this, but he was committed somewhere else for a while. And when he made that decision, a lot of people thought, man, come on, Florida State. He's right in your own backyard. He grew up watching your games. How do you miss on this kid? Well, the Noles didn't give up, and they stayed at it, and they ended up landing the talented prospect. Now, listen, he is 6'1.5", 180 pounds. He's got great length, great size for a defensive back. Primarily plays corner, could probably play safety based on his size, based on his athleticism, but probably will start out at corner for the Seminoles. We told our Discord that this was something that was going to happen. We told you a few days ago even. Put in a prediction, told you why we thought this was going to go down like this. If you haven't joined our Discord, you can do that by going to patreon.com/DFNS. If you want exclusive info like this early, you want to know what's coming before it happens, we will fill you in there. $3 a month to join. You can join at higher levels to get more, but go check that out. He originally started out as a wide receiver, had to flip to defensive back, had a really successful defensive back corner year last year, his junior season, and he's only continued that this year. Now, I like that because you like a guy that can play both ways. Elite pass catcher, you hear all the time, well, he plays DB because he can't catch. That's certainly not going to be an issue with Kai Bates, who started out on the receiver side of the ball. Florida State stacking elite talent over and over and over again at both defensive back and at wide receiver. Kai Bates is a guy that could probably ways. I doubt he will. Going to be a defensive back for the Noles because their wide receiver room is pretty stacked as well. But a guy who should be able to mix it up and make a pretty big impact there at corner. Tracks the ball well, moves pretty well. He can continue to develop. It's interesting because he's only played defensive back for about a year and a half now. But there's a reason that he's a top 150 kid, top 100 kid, according to some places. His athletic ability and his ceiling is really, really impressive. He's got great length. He's got long arms. Andrew Ivins of 247 says he has tentacle-like arms. I thought that was interesting in his scouting report. Kind of funny to hear, but also tells you what kind of length this kid truly has. Now, he was committed to LSU, and that's what we talked about a little bit earlier. Committed to the Tigers back over the summer. And a lot of people were like, wait a minute. Florida State seemed to be in a good position there, seemed to be having some good traction there. Did some good things with some other defensive backs in the summer that we'll talk about here in just a moment. But why is this Orlando kid passing over Tallahassee to end up in Baton Rouge? Well, he visited for the Miami game. Obviously, a phenomenal experience for every recruit that was there in attendance. So if you were there as a fan, shout out to you. Good job. Decommitted from LSU shortly thereafter and now has committed to the Noles. And, you know, not only shout out the fans, shout out that atmosphere, shout out the crowd, shout out everything that went on there. Let's give a big shout out to the Battle's End. Again, we know what recruiting is now. We know what a large part of it is in today's football. If you're not signed up for the Battle's End and you're not supporting, I would ask you to consider to do that. Feel free to up your donation if you already are. But you're essentially paying for entertainment in a lot of different areas of your life. This is a way that you can not only help support the entertainment that you enjoy, which is content like this and FSU football in general, watching on Saturdays, but you can also impact these young men and help them out with their name, image, and likeness deals as well. TheBattlesEnd.com, we've talked about them a ton. If you're not convinced yet, stay tuned. There's more good news coming, but I would encourage you to go check out the Battle's End. You're not landing top 100 defensive backs without a healthy NIL program. That's just not happening. Not happening anywhere across the country. You're not just relationshiping your way into these deals and these commitments when other programs are throwing large sums of money at these kids. You have to be competitive in that area as well. Shout out to the Battle's End. Make sure that you're supporting there to whatever degree you can. All right, this defensive back class is ridiculous. We've talked about it over and over and over again. There's nothing else in the country like this. I don't care. Go look at Alabama's roster. Go look at Georgia's commit list. Go look at LSU's. Go look at Ohio State's. Doesn't matter. Look at all of the top programs. Nobody has a defensive back class committed like this, where they've got 4 top 100 players on it. A kid that is in the top 10 with KJ Bolden, another composite 5-star in Charles Lester, Jamari Howard, who we've talked about, Ricky Knight's in there as well, a really good player as well, more of a developmental piece, and now you add Kai Bates. 4 guys in the top 100. Nobody else has anything close to that. There was a lot of talk this offseason about Corey Raymond versus Pat Surtain, who would really win out and have the better recruiting class there. I think that's pretty much been settled. I think that the Pat Surtain hire was something that a lot of Nole fans and a lot of rival fans really questioned. Oh, can he recruit? Is he able to do this at the Power 5 level? He's never recruited college before. Well, he was able to do it. Okay, so let's, if that narrative hasn't been put to bed just yet, then hopefully it is now. Really impressive what Pat Surtain has done in his first cycle here at Florida State. And, you know, everybody wants to argue and fight about who's DBU and who is that elite program. Listen, when Florida State is up and rolling and taking care of business like they need to, I mean, shoot, we know how many games they've won in a row. We know about all of those things. When Florida State is getting those things done, they are DBU. It's not questioned. There is a reason the greatest defensive back of all time came to and played for Florida State. You've also got the best DBs in the league right now are former Florida State Seminoles in Jalen Ramsey and Derwin James. You've also got one of the best DBs in the league right now is Pat Surtain's son. I know we're not going to claim him for DBU, but it does speak to the development, the legacy, what kids are getting when they're a defensive back and they choose to play for Florida State. Again, Ohio State, LSU, Florida, the other fake DBUs don't have any recruiting class that's even close to this from a defensive back perspective. And the good news is that the Noles are probably not done at defensive back just yet. A couple more targets, a couple more guys they're looking at, a couple of guys they'd like to potentially get in this fold. You wonder how many they could actually take. Would they take 6 defensive backs? I think that if an elite kid wanted to join you who was a defensive back, you're not turning him away. You're also not getting rid of anybody that's back there. This is a lot of talent, but you're going to need a lot of talent to continuously compete at the highest level. And so I like what Florida State has put together. I like what Coach Norvell has done in the selling of his program, selling the vision of his program. And all in all, a really, really great day for the Florida State Seminoles as, again, they pick up 4-star Kai Bates out of Orlando, Florida. Again, makes their 2024 elite recruiting class that much better. Also makes that defensive backs class that was already the best in the country even further. It separates further from the rest of the pack. Shout out Norvell, shout out Pat Surtain, Adam Fuller, everybody involved with this recruitment. Kai Bates, your newest Seminole commit as of today. Hey, we appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure you're part of the Battle's End. If you want access to inside info like this, again, patreon.com/DFNS. We appreciate you guys for all the support. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.